Welcome to What You Missed When You Didn't Exist. I am Corbett, and I am 54.
And I'm Lucy, and I'm 24 for the last time. And then we switch. Dun
That's
dun
true. It's
dun.
coming up soon. Speaking of which, it's the end of the year. So here we go with some fun stuff. This time around, we always talk about what happens between 1970 and 2000, which is the time that I was alive, but Lucy was not.
Ding.
Bad choice on your time.
On my time?
You should have chosen a better time. You could have been alive at the same time as me, and we'd have all this stuff to talk about.
I
But
believe that's
no,
a you problem, actually.
that's
But
a me
okay.
problem. No, but we're talking about Dick Clark. Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve, baby. So in 1979, one of my first memories of the New Year's Rockin' Eve was 1979 because I remembered specifically that the Village People and Blondie were performing. And I knew Blondie because my brother constantly played Blondie. And I knew the Village People because who didn't know the Village People?
You're right.
Everybody wanted to go to the YMCA. And this is probably important for me, and you will have no idea. But the guests they had on it were Aaron Moran and John Schneider. Aaron Moran was Joni from the Happy Days, a show we probably need to cover at some point.
Yep.
John Schneider was from the Dukes of Hazzard, which had just kind of hit big about that time, which is another show we can talk about at some time. But there was quite a lot of people going on. It was always kind of cool because you got to stay up late. And as a little kid, it was always exciting to stay up late. The sad thing is, I was tricked.
For what? What do you mean?
My parents tricked me because the thing is, back then they would just show you when it was happening based on the time. So if you were watching in, say, Texas, and New York's Rockin' Eve is playing along, and you see the ball dropped, and oh, it must be midnight, and I'm going to bed now. I stayed up so late, even though it was 10.
The trick.
That was the trick. And of course, then they would have one in Vegas, and they would have one, I think they have one in Chicago and Vegas and in LA. Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve actually spanned coast to coast, and they would give them basically a 4-hour long dance music party with people dancing and doing stuff. And this is one thing you didn't miss, Lucy, because you probably had no frame of reference as to what was happening. But in Friends, there was an episode where Ross and Monica, they got on New Year's Rockin' Eve, Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve. I forget which episode it was actually now, because all I remember is them doing the dance.
It was a big deal. They got to be on television, but they sucked at their dancing, so it was embarrassing.
It was just something funny to see. I'm curious, did you actually realize what was happening there? Or just like, okay, they're on a show and something's happening and they're being weird?
I think I understood what was happening, but I figured that Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve didn't exist anymore because you never showed it to us. Like when we were growing up, because I feel like we never even watched the ball drop, and instead we went and watched the fireworks outside or something. We always had different New Year's traditions than watching New Year's Rockin' Eve.
That's true. Well, I hate to say this, and this is a bit of a spoiler, but in 2001, I really didn't want to watch TV anymore.
Fair.
Because of something terrible.
My birth just ruined everything, you know?
It kind of did. But the thing is, the news became just a smear of terrible things. Everybody wanted to talk about the worst things in the world all the time. And so I just like, I'm not interested. And not long after that, they cut off all analog antenna signals. So we didn't even get an antenna signal anymore.
Whoa.
So because they switched over to digital, and where we live, there was no digital signals. So we didn't get any TV.
Yeah.
So you just didn't have TV. You kind of grew up with, this is something where I messed up your future. Sorry. by excluding you from the world of television. I think I noticed that when I took you to, I think we had a pizza place in town, and you guys were transfixed by the TV that was up in the corner playing like commercials.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, those toys look amazing. We should get those toys, Dad. Like, you're fine. It's just a toy.
Yeah, everyone thinks I'm weird because I love watching commercials, and I just genuinely enjoy commercials. I think they're so fun.
Well, to be fair, I enjoyed watching commercials too, but the commercials I had grown, we'll have to do a show about that. Okay, hold on your horses. This is Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve. We're talking about the new year coming in, listening to the music of the time, and thinking about what it's going to be like in the future. And I will admit, watching Blondie, I was really thinking, okay, this is the way all music in the future was going to be. I gotta admit, maybe we should do a show about Blondie. I don't think you've
Mm,
ever.
that could be
Have
good.
you ever listened to Blondie much? I
Yeah,
don't know
you
if you
put it
have.
on my playlist, like, every year that you were
Okay.
making me my playlist. It was
They gotta
Kesha,
have
the
some.
Jonas Brothers, Blondie, and then AC/DC.
There you go. That covers the basics you ever need to know. But no, Blondie was kind of a unique sound. I mean, basically, she gave way to Madonna. Madonna took over, I think, the next year or the year after. Cyndi Lauper, and then Madonna, and then it just went from there. But Blondie, musically speaking, had a really unique style, and I think she kind of introduced rap. I know, like, there's people who are like, "What? How dare you?" There was a couple. I think there was at least 2 songs she did where she would like talk in the song and kind of rhythmically go with it, but it wasn't quite the rap the way you would think, but it's kind of similar and gave a lean into her music. Always had a techno sound to it, and the stage show was very laser light. It's like, ooh, this is the future, we're gonna get jetpacks soon, it's gonna be great. It turns out Blondie and the Village People weren't the music of the future, but well, what are you gonna do?
It's okay, we move on to new things.
Yeah, it all comes back around at some point or another. But Dick Clark passed away in 2012. I think he handed off, I forget the exact date, he handed it off to Ryan Seacrest. I want to say that was like in 2007.
To Ryan Seacrest or no?
Yeah, to Ryan Seacrest.
Mm.
But he handed it off in the early 2000s to Ryan Seacrest. He was still alive at that point when he handed it off. And interestingly enough, I kind of had it in my head, memory wise, like, oh yeah, Dick Clark's been on the air since the 50s, so the Rockin' New Year's Eve was always around. It was not. They started doing it in 72, and it was in opposition to Guy Lombardo's New Year's Eve special,
Oh.
which he was a Canadian performer who kind of did the bandstand kind of feel. And I really never watched the Guy Lombardo show, so I can't say. But he was in opposition. He died in 77, Guy Lombardo. And
Mm.
that more or less opened up the threshold, so Dick Clark became the standard for the New Year's Rockin' Eve. It is still called the Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve now, even though he has long since passed. So it's kind of an interesting handoff, I guess, that he's got that legacy going on.
Yeah, that's really cool. This year it's actually going to be hosted in Chicago. Fun
Oh,
fact. Don't know who's performing yet, but it's going to be in Chicago live on ABC at 7 p.m. Central Time on New Year's Eve, which is a Wednesday. Oh, that's terrible.
I'm sure they'll put out the information of who's going to be there and what it's going to be about. To let anybody know who has no idea what we're talking about, the show basically cuts back and forth to, it's kind of like watching a parade, if you've ever watched a parade. It cuts back and forth to the commentators, typically to Dick Clark in the past. I would presume now to Ryan Seacrest, who would talk about, oh, this year's been this way, this year's been that way, talking about how great this and that has. Then they would cut back over to, say, like a produced video production or like a live performance that's happening in one of the cities, and the people that are there dancing and talking. But then they would keep cutting back to the main studio, which is the thing that was in Friends, where they cut the studio and people are just dancing to music. And they just
Yeah.
splice the other music over it, which is kind of funny because I don't think they do the live splice. So I think they're listening to something else and they just cut the video over to them. So it's not always in sync. But anyway, they would cut back to these, then go back to the commentators, then cut back to another musical piece or some kind of like, they would do like the memorial page thing where they're like, these are the people we've lost this year. And this is the things that are sad, and this is what we have to look forward to. And they kind of, would do these bits and cuts and vignettes to remind us what the year was all about. Overall, it wasn't terrible. Mostly for the youth, you got to listen to cool music, watch dancers do stuff that's fun, and bring in the new year, the rockin' new year.
It's kind of a crazy concept, well, in my mind at least, because I feel like this is an older concept of you have like a full day party almost.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like
Just about.
as we've gotten into the future, we don't really have the time or the the space to do like a full day party or a full day celebration of sorts, because parties are set at a certain time and they go till typically whenever the last person leaves, which can be whenever. But I feel like way back when in history, there were like all day balls and galas. And I feel like this was kind of a closer look at the way that we celebrate all day. It's like
Hmm.
one of the few days where you actually have to gear up and get ready to celebrate all day, hardcore.
Well, it's a party, and it's fun.
It's fun.
It's fun. Actually, one thing I do kind of remember too, and this is a bit more vague, so I might be remembering it wrong. But I kind of remember them putting in multiple types and genres of music. So it wasn't just like,
The today's top
you know,
hits or whatever.
yeah, it wasn't like, oh, here's Blondie and the Village People, and that's all you're gonna see. Like they would throw in like a country music piece, or a rapper, or Weird Al was on it a couple times. There was stuff that was like very different, very changed in the way it was. They would usually play something dancey. It had to be something you could dance to. I don't think there was too many slow songs,
Yeah.
but they would jump back and forth, and you would get a good mix. I gotta admit, as far as American music culture, it was a good mix of American music culture of the day.
Mhm.
And I will say, if you go back and look at YouTube and kind of click into some of those old Dick Clark Rockin' New Year's, which I'm betting there are several out there, you will kind of go, oh, that was what it was kind of like. But it wasn't just like, here's the top 40 chart. It's like, no, here's a good mix of people who were performing at the time, who were part of stuff. And that's kind of a neat thing. I don't
Yeah.
know if it was on purpose or by accident, or if he was trying to get more viewers because he wanted to spread the music wide, or if he was actually trying to create a time capsule. And I kind of get the feeling he
Mm.
was trying to create that time capsule.
That's kind of cool.
This is what it was. Because you look back at it now and like, oh, I'm sure there's a lot of people when I say, oh, Blondie and the Village People, they don't know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, okay, I have a question that's kind of
Hmm.
related to MTV slash American Bandstand slash New Year's Rockin' Eve.
Hmm.
Was the whole point of watching these performers play, was it a way for you to simply watch? Or were you also, I guess not expected to, but did you also party with them? Because you were like watching these essentially concerts happen and go on, but did you party with them? Or was it just a, whoa, look at these people doing this cool thing?
I would say as a kid, I wanted to party with them. I don't know. I mean, if you're watching something on TV, do you get up and dance every so often?
Hmm.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, you didn't grow up where I grew up, because where I grew up, we weren't allowed to dance. It was against the law until Kevin Bacon helped us.
Ridiculous. Well, it's an interesting cultural thing in my brain because we like to watch people do things instead of like doing them ourselves, which we can kind of see with modern culture because so many kids nowadays are just watching people do things on YouTube or on TikTok or whatever. So it's just an interesting phenomenon in my brain that we like to just watch people participating in things, and it's like a tradition because it's been going on since the 70s.
Yeah.
Kids on YouTube like to watch people do things
Mhm.
like my cousin liked to watch people unboxing things and
Mhm.
open gifts, and I'm like, wouldn't you rather like to get the gift and open it yourself and play with it yourself? And he's like, yeah, but I enjoy watching it too. And so I think
That's
it's that
true.
same cultural phenomenon, which is interesting that it's something that's continued throughout the decades. Even in the 70s, people like to watch other people party and other people live a concert instead of trying to go and experience it yourself almost.
I want to say that there were studio setups across the country. Because I remember one year where they had like, oh, you can come to the local TV studio and dance in the studio to the stuff that they're playing. And you might be on American Bandstand, or you might be on the Rockin' New Year's Eve. And there was a certain amount of local flair in that sense. I know it was in bigger cities more than the smaller ones, so it
Mhm.
wasn't everybody. I seem to remember a couple times where that happened, and I feel like that's a thing. Like, yeah, we want to put in more local people and more like, this is America,
Yeah.
which is kind of a cool grouping, I think.
Yeah.
Although I would bet a lot of it was straight up professional dancers because there were so many people that were spotlight dancer worthy.
Not everyone's built like that.
Yeah. Well, not that they're pretty or ugly or any of that. It's just the fact that there are dancers who are good at dancing.
Yeah.
And then there are, most of us are probably more like Ross and Monica and look like birds that are caught in a net trying to get out.
See, I was thinking of Chandler and Joey's like signature head bob moment, you know?
Yeah.
No one teaches you to dance anymore. It's a lost
Nobody
art.
does. Just jump around like a moron and like, it's probably good. And I think that was the thing too, is it was a teaching method. The American Bandstand mostly, but the Rockin' New Year's Eve, you get to see people who are real people dancing to real songs and go, aha, I know that song. I will dance with them to copy their moves, and I will repeat that on the dance floor, and then it will look like my song.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what people do with like YouTube jokes and stuff. They'll say I'm at work and like, I thought that up myself just this morning. I didn't look on YouTube or anything.
Yeah.
But we are good at copying each other pretty well as humans.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Very, very true. But I will say, for anybody who's looking forward to a new year, just wanting something fun to have happen, check out the Rockin' New Year, baby.
Yeah.
Ryan Seacrest is apparently still doing it.
He is. I don't know who's hosting it. They haven't announced it yet, but Chicago. Chi-Town.
Very popular place to be.
7 p.m. Central. Go watch it. Or watch it later? Question mark?
It's over what you missed when you didn't exist. Have a happy new year.
Woohoo! 2026!